Welcome to Authors Radio, amplifying voices inspiring the world. I'm your host, Alba Mireles, and I'm absolutely delighted to welcome today's guest, Nathan Smolensky, the author of the book titled Common Ground from the Ground Up: How Rethinking Politics Can Help Us Feel Heard, Heal Relationships, and Fix Our Democracy. We're here to celebrate your creativity and explore the world you crafted in this book. Thank you, Nathan, for being here.
Thank you, Alba, for having me.
Did I pronounce good your
You did
last name?
great. Don't worry about that. Yeah.
Thank you, Nathan. And before we start with the book, I just want to ask, who is Nathan, and can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
That guy. Yeah, absolutely. So I am a longtime political organizer, strategist, consultant. I've been in what I like to call the space of bridge building and political innovation. So I've worked with minor parties, I've worked with different people trying to improve our politics, improve our dialogue, improve just the way we deal with issues. Um, and over that time, I also have of a communications and marketing background. Over that time, what I've seen is these efforts get stuck inside their own bubbles. And this is the greater problem that we have with dialogue, with politics in general, that the way we're used to talking about things is not really the best way to reach different audiences. It's optimized to get people energized, to affirm, hey, we're on the same team, we believe in this. And while that's great for politicians, it's great for media. It makes them money. It gets them donors. It gets them those hardcore voters to turn out every time. It's really hard when you have that Thanksgiving conversation. It's really hard when you've got this coworker that you're having an argument with and you suddenly don't know how to navigate that. And the more that I saw of that, the more that I thought, hey, I've seen people who bring good listening to the table, who bring incredible dialogue skills to the table. I can offer a solution to help deal with this. And so that was the impetus behind Common Ground for the Ground Up. And I'm excited to be here today.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. And you talked that you have worn many hats. And
Yes.
how does different experiences shape the way you approach political discourse?
My own personal experiences.
Yes.
Um, I mean, I've seen just the way people react to different things, to different approaches. When you're very combative, one of the things I like to say in the book, a lot of it comes down to the golden rule. It's you treat people as you want to be treated yourself. When you are combative, when you are going into an argument trying to win, trying to beat them, they're going to do the same to you. And it's going to not be super fun. And both people are going to think that they've won and think that they're smarter and doesn't really get anywhere. I've been lucky enough to work with politicians, with elected officials, with candidates for office who make an effort to listen and who have shown, like, hey, if you approach conversations with patience, with curiosity, with an open mindset, people suddenly are much more open. The more that you open your mind to others, the more they're able to open their minds to you. So, one of the things I harp on is this is not a call for civility for the sake of civility or civil discourse for the sake of civil discourse, because I think through those experiences, I've seen the people who practice better dialogue, more constructive dialogue, are also the most effective communicators, are also the strongest at getting their points across. And that's something that I think is really valuable to us all.
Yeah, and many authors have also a personal, moment that moves them to write. What was the turning point that made you feel this book needed to be written down?
So I think you have to go to the root of it, because one of the things I talk about a lot in the book is a curious mindset, just embracing different perspectives and embracing people in your life who approach things differently. And I'll go to a non-political example, and this is way, way back, actually, before I was born. Um, and it is my great aunt. My great aunt is, on the surface, one of the most difficult people to talk to you'll meet. She's picky, she's argumentative. Me, I'm relatively soft-spoken. I'm very adaptable. I'm very easygoing. Very, very different. But as I learned over my life, my family left the Soviet Union about 10 years before I was born. Why did they leave the Soviet Union? It's very hard to leave the Soviet Union. But my great aunt, who is a very, very selective, who is very, hard headed and, stringent in her beliefs, she's like, I don't want to be here anymore. This is terrible. We are going to leave this place, and we are going to do whatever it takes to leave this. And they left. And when my grandparents and that generation had reached retirement age, and they were dealing with the winter in New Jersey, New York, for years, and dealing with health problems that came from that. Who was the one who said, no, we have to move somewhere. We have to move somewhere warmer? She was the one, because she didn't take these things for granted. And just knowing this is a person who is completely unlike me, and I gained so much from having her perspective, having her experience, just having her voice in my life, um, that gave me a deeper appreciation of just surrounding yourselves with those who think differently. And that, I think, is really at the core of the mindset that I'm trying to push through this book. And that's what I want to share, because I think people lose sight of that sometimes.
Yeah, and the title of their book suggests like a new approach to something that many of us, have grown tired about, like politics. And what exactly does rethinking politics look like in your view?
So, rethinking politics, it is sort of stepping back, understanding, why do we have our political identities? Why do we entrench so much in sort of the team spirit of politics? Why do we care as much as we do, approach arguments in the way that we do? What is it that's driving our mentality around this? What is it? Also, a key part of rethinking is understanding these issues as a bigger picture problem. It's not necessarily, what do you think is morally right? It is us all working together to find the best solutions, given that we all have different practical concerns and different moral concerns about these really, really important topics. And navigating that collectively, having that communal mindset, having that collaborative mindset, which is more akin, I think the best area where this has been written about in these terms is relationships, where it is not us against each other, which is how we perceive so much of politics to be. It's all of us trying to work against the problem. And if you have that mindset, if you embrace, okay, we need people to think different, we need to understand people who think different, and then we can best add our voice to the conversation, it changes the way we can approach discussions, it changes the way we can approach dialogue, and just all the conversations that we have. And that's the good that I'm trying to do, I guess.
Yeah, and you also emphasize like listening and being heard as a keys to fixing democracy. How do you propose we begin rebuilding those lost channel of communication?
I think it really does start with wanting to. It is not having the mindset of, oh, gee, this is my relative. We should probably get along. I should try to patch things. It's hard to push yourself to do that. When you embrace the sort of curiosity that, one, I can learn so much from different perspectives, and two, I can make my ideas and my voice stronger by learning from this different perspectives. That, I think, is the real crucial motivation. Um, I think within this space, the tipping point of a societal movement towards better dialogue, whether that's through my work or others who are working with their bridge building organizations, comes when people realize I am going to be better heard. I am going to get my ideas across more effectively. I'm going to be better represented if I embrace an open conversation than if I just entrench myself in my team um, and say rah rah and keep fighting. The more that we can show not that fighting isn't worth it, but that the best way to champion your beliefs, the best way to advocate for your beliefs is not through fighting. I think that becomes more exciting to people, and that can really generate both, on the ground, a mindset shift, and in the electoral sphere, a change in what we're seeing and a change in the kind of politics that succeeds. Because the politics that succeeds right now, we look at it as it breeds the division, but it also comes from the division. It is maximizing the opportunities that come from people being divided and constantly fighting. And there's a lot to exploit there. So the more we're able to step back and embrace a different mindset, embrace a healthier mindset, more curious mindset, I think the more good we can do.
Yeah, and I was thinking in this time when shouting matches seem louder than thoughtful dialogue. How can individuals resist the pull of extreme and still feel politically, empowered?
I think you're getting at a really really important piece of the puzzle, which is you don't want to do this. And to my earlier point, you're not compromising, you're not holding back just for other people. If you feel that way, you're not going to want to do it. You don't want to hold back your beliefs, you don't want to hold back your voice, but you want to find the way to communicate most effectively, to get your voice across most effectively. And I think showing people that, hey, I'm going to be better heard, I'm going to be clearer, even if I'm not always louder. People are going to be able to better listen to me if I start by listening to them, if I embrace a curiosity, if I welcome their ideas, they're more likely to welcome mine. And there are ways, there's a lot that I talk about as far as finding the language, sort of stepping outside of your bubble in different ways and embracing a more positive, a more additive conversation that I think can really lead to, again, getting your point across better, feeling more heard, and just being the best advocate that you can be.
Yeah, and when you were writing this book, were there moments during your research or writing that made you question your own beliefs or assumptions?
There were definitely, and I tried to do the best to play devil's advocate for myself, and I think my readers, especially the people I worked with, people who helped edit this book, they really did their best, and I appreciated this of asking, well, you know, on one level, are you speaking to your own choir? And this is the thing that I really wanted to avoid the most, is talking to people who are already interested in bridge building and better discourse and all this. Because this book only really works if it can reach anyone, if it can reach people who are super entrenched. And speaking to that, finding my language, practicing what I preach, of being able to communicate to those different audiences and being able to answer kind of hard questions of, what if someone really isn't willing to talk to me at all? And what if I just feel like I'm talking to a wall? You have to address that. You have to address that fairly. You can't brush it over. And yeah, definitely that put me to the test. And I think that I navigated through those questions, not around them, and I'm happy with where I ended up. But it definitely took challenging myself. The way I encourage anyone to challenge themselves and their beliefs and the way that they speak about issues.
And in your view, what's the biggest misconception people have about political dialogue today?
That it has to be zero sum, that it is always going to be competitive, that it always has to be a fight. If you go in trying to win, the reality is only one side can win. I mean, you can both think you've won, but again, that leads to weird places. If you go into a conversation trying to learn, if that is what success looks like, you get a lot more positive conversations. They're a lot more pleasant, and you end up coming out both having gained. And so realizing that we're not, we may be at odds in what we believe. That doesn't mean we're worse for one another. And understanding the issues as, okay, we need all of these perspectives to inform solutions, to help us understand what we as a society should be doing, I think allows us to embrace a more collaborative approach and a more constructive approach to dialogue and conversation that people just assume couldn't possibly be there.
Yeah, and I was thinking if a listeners, with one idea from your book, what do you hope it is?
Be curious. Um, as I said, um, seek to learn more. For me, that has been my guiding light in all of the things I've pursued. And at times it's been to my detriment because I'm so curious about so many things. But it really just completely changes the way that you deal with conversations. If you are going into talking to someone looking to learn from them and learn about them and learn why they think what they think, um, it just completely opens the door to a different political experience, a healthier political experience, and one that I think people will really enjoy.
Yeah, and I was thinking, how can educators, community leaders, or even parents start using your ideas to build better conversation in their own circles? Like, do you have any strategy?
I do. I do. I kept saying be curious. That's one of my bedrocks of better discourse, which is a chapter in the book. It's also a free chapter if you join my mailing list on my website. Um, and along with that, things I talk about are zooming out, understanding the bigger picture in conversation, seeking to learn rather than to win, which is also something I've talked about a fair deal. Giving the other person time to speak, making them feel heard, understanding that you having an open mind can be reciprocated very well. All of these things add up to better dialogue, healthier dialogue, more productive dialogue. And again, the best way for teachers and educators to embrace this, I also worked for some time as a chess teacher. And one of the big things that I learned there is you really have to make the kids want to learn rather than say, oh, hey, this is how you should behave in conversation. This is how we should be nice to each other because we owe it to each other. No, this is whatever it is you want, whatever it is you want to express, you are going to be better served with these tools. If you can communicate that as an educator, I think you find the kids or whatever audience you're dealing with is much more receptive to it if they understand, okay, this is not for others. This is not because society tells me to behave this way. This is so I can be the best communicator I can be. This is so I can maximize my voice, so I can make it as heard as possible, and I can reach different audiences with it. If you can communicate that, if you can show that, I think it goes a really long way.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And right now, I have another question. Are you, what's next for Nathan? Are you working on another book or, second part?
Uh, no second book for now. Right now, I'm trying to get the word out, trying to push this book as much as I can, and just make sure it has the best reach that it can. One of the things I say in it is it's only as strong as my readers make it. Um, so some of the things I'm working on are going to be workshops. I'm going to be at as many bookstores as I can, as many libraries as I can, and working together with different bridge building organizations uh, to promote these tools, to share these tools with as many audiences as I can. So very excited for that, and I also encourage any listeners who think they might have an opportunity for me to speak or contribute to a workshop, reach out because I love hearing from people and I love seeing what different uses they have for these tools that I'm providing. So
Yeah,
it is what people make of it. I'm very excited with
yeah.
it.
And how can readers connect with you? Your website, social media, mailing
Uh,
list?
my website is the best way to do it. It is nathansmolensky.com. You can find me there. I am on some socials. Um, I certainly will receive messages. I'm on Facebook, on Twitter. Find me wherever is convenient for you. Um, and I'm very happy to hear from my readers and those who might be interested in becoming my readers. So
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Nathan. Nathan,
thank
it
you.
has been a pleasure to have you on Authors Radio. And thank you for giving us a glimpse into your work and sharing your passion. And listeners, be sure to check his book. And thank you for tuning into Authors Radio, Amplifying Voices Inspiring the World. And join me next time for another inspiring conversation. In the meantime, happy listening.
All right. Thank you.